fox jumped over the lazy dog. Fun fact, I probably said it 20 times by now. It's the only sentence. That's the only.
This is the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral.com.
I hear this fact at least once a month.
But it's a sentence that has every single syllable and word in the English language.
I'm going to come up with a new sentence for you to start using.
Please do.
That has every letter.
Every letter.
Yep.
The quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog.
Find a better sentence.
Hey, if you can, let's do it.
Right.
I got to get my voice exercises in. Good morning, Tuscaloosa. Good morning, Tuscaloosa, Internet world, West Alabama. How we doing today? On a Wednesday, it's the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central, BamaCentral.com. Hope you and yours are doing well. A little bit of rainy here in West Alabama today, so stay dry and stay safe. Hope everybody is doing well. We're live in the Derek Daniel State Farm Studios, broadcasting on the Bama Central YouTube channel, on the Bama Central Facebook page. You're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, Amazon, Spotify, Red Circle, BUBBL, wherever you get your podcasts. You can find the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central, BamaCentral.com. As we said, we're live in the Derek Daniel State Farm Studios. Call Derek Daniel for all of your insurance needs. Like a good neighbor, Derek Daniel and State Farm is there. Call him at 205-758-3391. I saw all his employees pulling into the parking lot this morning, so they were ready to take care of you with all your car insurance needs, your homeowner's insurance needs. You need a little life insurance. If you got loved ones in your life, you need to make sure that you have life insurance. So call him today at 205-758-3391. We're also proudly presented by Purple Turtle Roofing. For a free roof inspection, visit them online today at roofturtle.com. We appreciate Purple Turtle Roofing for sponsoring the program. They are one of the top-rated roofing company in the state of Alabama. They received Tuscaloosa's Best of the Best award for roofing companies, and so we appreciate them hanging out and sponsoring the program. Visit them online at roofturtle.com. What are we going to do today? We've got our man Theo Fernandez in here. Theo's wearing his other podcast. You cheating on us wearing your other podcast merch, but I guess y'all are having a big episode today, so make sure you check out. It hasn't released yet, has it?
No,
but it's going to release. Tell them what it is.
So it's going to be called the You're Not Safe podcast. Will be your new home for everything college baseball. I'll be hosting the show alongside Hunter Brantley. You guys know Hunter if you've listened to this show at all. In fact, we probably have a voicemail from him today.
Yesterday, we played it. Today's voicemail is from somebody else.
So, yeah, me and Hunter are going to be breaking down college baseball. I'm going to be on the beat this year covering Alabama baseball for Bama Central. So I'll be all over the sport, following all the national headlines. And this is going to be a fun, quick hitter, 1 hour. You get everything you need to know. We're going to release our own top 25 poll because baseball somehow still doesn't have an AP poll. So we're going to give you our rankings every week. We're going to do a college game day style pick segment, break down the national storyline. So if you guys want to learn more about college baseball, check us out. We'll be releasing the show every Thursday, and you can follow along on my Twitter at Theo Fernandez __ for all the updates on the show. Hope you guys tune in.
You're not safe. All right, real quick, Theo, who is the best college baseball player in the country this year? One answer, one name.
It's going to be Cheslowski, UCLA. Star. This guy's going to be the number one pick in the draft. He is an unreal player. I'll be picking him for Golden Spikes. A lot of people probably wanted to hear me say Justin LeBron, but
Rock Cheslowski
is just on another level right
now. All right. Well, Daniel Rock Cheslowski looks like Internet has him as third base and shortstop.
All right. Yeah, he played shortstop for the Bruins, and he is incredible at it.
All right. Well, we'll have to look out for Rock Cheslowski and You're Not Safe. So make sure you check them out. I'm sure that it's going to be on all the major podcast platforms before too long. Today's first episode, right?
Yeah, we're recording this first episode right when me and Joe finish, and it will release on Thursday morning on everything.
Good. So you're using all your
my
Okay.
prime right as we start the You're Not Safe podcast.
All right, excellent. Well, I wanted to shout you out right there before we got going. What we are going to do today, we're not going to talk college baseball today. We will talk about it tomorrow. We'll get a season preview tomorrow. That's what we're going to do. Alabama is hosting Washington State, correct?
Wazoo, yes.
Yeah, so in a 3-game series starting on Friday, so you guys can take your Valentine out to – no, that's next weekend. Excuse me. I'm a weekend ahead. You can watch baseball against
my Valentine's is this weekend.
Oh, I'm all right. I'm right on track.
It's the perfect Valentine's Day, guys. And I said this to someone
How can you not be romantic about baseball?
Doesn't have a girlfriend or anything, but you get Washington State and then South Carolina baseball, basketball back to back. That doesn't get them excited. I don't know what will.
Exactly. So spend your Valentine's afternoon and evening over there in the Joe parking lot at the Joe, and then bounce on over to Coleman Coliseum to enjoy some basketball. What we will do today is talk basketball. We're going to get into Alabama Ole Miss right off the bat. We're going to get into that game for tonight, 6 o'clock. Then we're going to take a voicemail, and then we'll have our friend Katie Windham join us. Katie Windham's going to give us a softball preview. Vic Moten, freshman pitcher, was D1 softball's pitcher, National Freshman of the Week. She had a great outing, and the ladies hit 18 home runs at the Buzz Classic. They're taking on Purdue. They're taking on Georgia Southern. They're taking on one more other team in the Eastern Bama Bash. Katie Windham's going to join us in just a little bit to let us know about the Eastern Bama Bash and about the softball team, if they are cut above or a little bit different than the last handful of softball teams that have been good, but just not quite good enough. So that's the plan for today. We invite you to jump in, leave us a comment, leave us a voicemail at 205-462-7340, extension 800. You can leave us comments at Joe Gaither 6, at Theo Fernandez _, on the Bama Central YouTube channel, or wherever you like, the Bama Central Facebook page as well. All right, so what we are going to do, there isn't a post on X. I am live, you said. Did it not go to my Twitter? Let's see. No, it says that I'm live. Did I not type the right? No, there isn't a post on X. Did Twitter just update something funky? Yeah, I see us. I see us right there. All right, sweet. I see you right there in your You're Not Safe uniform. But you're right. There is no standalone post. Maybe Twitter did an update. Maybe Elon's app did something funny. I see. It's got the little red circle around me.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure we were recording this for people before we get too far.
Sure, I appreciate it. No, you did the right thing. We have done it before where I hit start and I did not hit start actually. But we are on the Bama Central. We are on my Twitter, and we're on the Bama Central Facebook page. I'm not flipping over to YouTube at the moment, but it looks like we are live on YouTube as well. So let's get started, Theo. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's a good morning. I'm excited for this baseball show. And, I came down sick with something, but we're powering through it, pumped up with some caffeine and ready to go.
I've got some Mucinex in the car. Just remind me, I'll pass it off to you from the last time that I was not feeling very well. I've got some Mucinex in the car. I might have some cough syrup in there. I don't, my nose spray, I moved into the house.
Okay, I'll pass on your nose spray. But I'll tell you, I'll take the other stuff.
Yeah, that'll be good. That'll be good. Basketball tonight. Alabama basketball going over to Oxford at 6 o'clock to take on I think this is a dangerous Ole Miss team. Ole Miss is 3-7 in SEC play, so the paper says it's not dangerous, and the paper says that Ole Miss is on a 5-game losing streak. Is what I wrote down yesterday. It is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right. They haven't won in SEC play since beating Mississippi State a handful of weeks ago. They beat Missouri, at Georgia, and at Mississippi State. They lost to Oklahoma, bad basketball team. They lost to Arkansas. They lost to Tennessee, Texas, at Vanderbilt, and at Kentucky as well. So on paper, a bad basketball team in front of Alabama tonight. The Crimson Tide are a 7.5-point favorite in this evening's game. You'll be able to follow all the coverage on BamaCentral.com. Our man Hunter DeCiver is going to be writing it up for us at BamaCentral.com. You can follow him at Hunter DeCiver on the Twitter machine. Alabama, number 2 overall in offensive efficiency, number 65 in defensive efficiency. Ole Miss, on the other hand, is 84th in offensive efficiency and 60th in defensive efficiency. So, Theo, First game without Charles Bediako since all this stuff has gone down. Are you feeling a letdown tonight? I'm feeling you beat Texas A&M at home. Kind of an emotional, tough game. 40 minutes they played you up and down the court, and then another emotional, tough game in Auburn on Saturday. I'm feeling very much letdown vibes this morning. How are you feeling about this game?
You see, I'm not quite getting the letdown vibes just because I really don't think this Ole Miss team is good, like at all. They've had a couple competitive games in SEC play, right? Like they went down to the wire with a Vanderbilt team that lost to Oklahoma, right? A Vanderbilt team that's kind of fallen off a little bit, but they're just not a great basketball team, man. And I think Chris Beard is a guy who was a phenomenal basketball coach. I don't know.
He's still a good coach.
He's a good coach. If you look into, between the lines, the NCAA kind of messed up his team's play style, right? He's had to adjust. He's had to get around some rule changes, and his defenses are nowhere near what they used to be, right? Before they changed the charge rule, and it kind of, if you guys know about that, it affected the whole way they've had to play defense. And Ole Miss is a very hard place to win as a basketball coach, as a basketball program. This team is nothing special. There is no real excuse for Alabama to do anything other than win this game by more than 7.5 points. I'm feeling an Alabama cover today. I am. We're going to have some serious problems if we get any kind of letdown from this team. It's just like, I do think we're going to notice the loss of Charles Bediako, but I just think that Alabama is so far above the Rebels that we just won't see it tonight.
Yeah, I mean, the talent-wise for Alabama, at least in the backcourt with the guards, as the guards are concerned, I think severely outmatched the guards of Ole Miss. But where I'm worried about, Theo, is really the rebounding and in the front court. You look at and maybe I'm just traumatized from Malik Dia last season, but 23 and 19 last year for Ole Miss, and they came to Coliseum and they beat Alabama. They actually were 10-6 last year. They weren't bad in SEC play. Ended up making the tournament, finishing in the top 25. Not so good this year, but Malik Dia is still there, and he's still 6'9", 250 senior. And they ended up getting LSU transfer Corey Chess. Now Corey Chess doesn't play as much. He basically backs up Malik Dia, but y'all remember Corey Chess was 12 points, 18 rebounds last year as Alabama did beat LSU. So you've got a couple of big boy, tough fella rebounders and paint scorers for Ole Miss. And so I'm concerned. I'm a little traumatized. I'm going back to Alabama's matchup against Florida, where you give up 72 points in the paint, and I'm wondering, okay, yeah, you don't have Charles Bediako. You're going to ask more from Noah Williamson. That's already a scary thought in itself. You've got Aiden Sherrill. Will he stay out of foul trouble? And then is Taylor Bowen going to be able to give you 40 minutes? Well, he'll give you 23 minutes. Is he going to be able to give you 25 minutes? You're not getting anything from Keaton Bristow. You're not getting anything from Collins Donjaka. Can you get a little something out of London Jemison defensively? Can you get some rebounding out of Amari Allen? Some of those questions seem easier than others, but I'm pretty concerned going into a matchup stylistically that I think goes in Ole Miss's favor.
Yeah, that's not a horrible take. I do just think it comes back to just how lights out, or how much better Alabama can shoot the basketball, how much better the guard play is, where, yes, Ole Miss, I'd say, wins on the inside, but Alabama's advantage on the perimeter is just far too great for the Rebels to realistically put up a significant fight. That's the way I see it, at least. And I do believe that you will. Like, London Jemison has impressed me lately.
Yeah, he's been coming on for sure.
An absolute spark plug for this team. I think he dropped out of the NBA draft rankings over the past couple weeks as he had a couple struggles. But earlier in the season, when he was having some big moments, he got as high as 43 on, I forget which of the big boards, but one of them. And he's a guy who has impressed across the board, right? We've seen, he's a guy who likes to end possessions once he gets the basketball.
Hey, man, sometimes you passing the ball in the corner, that thing's going up.
Yes. that's worked out in Alabama's favor the last couple games, right? He's come in both times and had big stretches in the first half. I believe he had, was it 9 in the first half against A&M? And then he had, I don't know the exact number on Wednesday, but he had a 7-0 run fully by himself against the Tigers in the first half. Like, just a guy who, when he's on, and he can give you that little spark. And then defensively, like, we've seen him have his moments where he's overmatched, right? We saw, example, A&M grabbing a rebound over him to tip it out to Rylan Griffin for a potentially game-tying 3. That kind of sums up what he's done defensively at times where he's just a little overmatched. And yeah, I mean, this is a freshman, an offensive geared freshman who's being asked to do real work defensively on the inside in a role that he certainly didn't expect to have to fill coming into the season. And, you know, a role that he's probably a little overmatched for. But you got to hope that at some point, you know, he's going to continue to develop there, and some things are going to start to click on him on the defensive end. And this, in my eyes, is a really, really good opportunity for him in a game where I don't necessarily think the final score will be in question, right? I do believe Alabama wins this convincingly. So you can go out and you can lose on the inside, right? You can go out, you can get really valuable reps against a really good interior player, right? This guy is up there in the conference on the inside, and I think it's a really big opportunity for London.
So we will see how it plays out tonight at 6 o'clock. I am feeling like Alabama will win, but I think it's going to be pretty ugly. KenPom, all right, see, KenPom's nailing this. KenPom has Alabama winning 84-78 in a lot closer game. I mean, that's 6 points, and the spread is 7.5, so it's not that much closer, but I do think it's going to be a little uncomfortable for a while, and I think you're going to have to be sitting in the suck, you know, to use a phrase right there, sitting in the mess for a little bit of time before Alabama comes out on top. I will copy and paste KenPom's score. I'll go 84-78. I'll copy and paste it, and I'll take Alabama to win in an ugly fashion. Get out rebounded, but makes more threes. It has a good night at the free throw line. Battles some foul trouble, but ultimately wins.
I like 84 as Alabama's number, just to be a little different. I guess I'll move it up to, I don't know, 87. And Ole Miss, I'll go close to 70. I'll go 87-71. Alabama wins the game in a game that's just not all that competitive. Now, also remember, Ole Miss, right? Oxford's had to deal with their exploding trees and all their weather stuff. So they have been on the road a bunch, right? They haven't played at home since January 20th. So Oxford's going to be about as hostile as it'll ever get, right? Everyone's been itching to get a return to campus. That's crazy. Ole Miss was like out of school for, I believe, a full week and a half where they were just doing classes online with how crazy the weather got over there. And, you know, you don't see that often. So they're hungry to do something in person, and they're going to be loud. So that'll be fun to see.
Theo, if you are Coach Oates for 1 minute, you get 1 or 2 coaching points for this team going into this Ole Miss game. What do you think are the most important things to emphasize for this team at the moment without Charles Bediako?
Play into the strengths, right? Try to shoot the lights out. That is the number one thing. Like, this feels like a live by the 3, die by the 3 game, right? If you're going to go out there and if you're going to have a horrible shooting night, okay, that happens. This is a game where, you know, don't try to force things inside, right? We've seen what the offense is like in the paint at times for this team. So I'd say just play what you're good at. Phylon, drive, kicks, wood. I think it's a big game for Phylon too. He's had an easier time of things with Bediako on the inside, right? We've talked so much about that vertical spacing, about the lob threat. So I guess my other point goes directly to Aiden Sherrill. What can you do without Bediako? What can you do as if we're being real, the only offensive focal point out of the bigs, right? What did he pick up from Bediako? Did he learn anything? Can you provide a lob threat at all? And I guess it'll be a lot of trial and error for that Phylon Sherrill, you know, screen pairing. And I'm excited to see what that looks like.
Well, we'll see what happens tonight. Theo, let's transition to the voicemail machine. We're going to get Katie Windham on in just a few minutes, but let's take a voicemail. You can call us on the voicemail machine at 205-462-7340, extension 800. Let's see what our friends have to say.
Guys, Cam here. Just got one quick question. Since they did away with the spring transfer window, does that officially mean that we can have a traditional 8-day game again, possibly televised? Because me personally, I used to love watching the 8-day game. And if I couldn't make it up to Tuscaloosa, you can always just flip on over to ESPN, SEC Network, and watch it. But definitely interesting to watch when there's a quarterback competition going on. But I'm just going to get to see what y'all's input was on it. Roll Tide, guys.
There you go. That's Cam on the voicemail machine. Appreciate him talking to us today. Always great to hear from you, sir. Theo, I think he brings up a great question. Absolutely. And I think you've got some you've got a lot of layers to this one. Yes. Because he's absolutely right how he lays it out. Because of no spring portal window, there's no reason not to have a spring game. Last year's 8-day experience, let's be honest, was not good.
It's horrendous.
It was not good. We were in the press box like we always are. It was great. That was nice. But it was just like ants on a field because everybody was. I mean, it looked like a walkthrough practice. Mm-hmm. Everybody was walking through, doing the drills. It was, everybody all over the place. It wasn't organized football. It was very much light practice. It was hard to keep up with and really pretty difficult. For me at least, to come up with major takeaways. Obviously, you saw, this player looks fine. That player's got a good arm. That player's fast, whatever. But as far as big major takeaways, and I think it was designed that way. I think that there's a room, Theo, to make 8-day return. But I think the business entities, the business side of things, I'm suspicious of this Morgan Wallen concert. I hope it goes well. I hope it goes great. I have nothing against Morgan Wallen, and if you like him as an artist, great. I hope you're bumping him today in your car and you're enjoying that. That's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is I am suspicious that the university is using the Morgan Wallen concert as a revenue. I mean, they are using it as a revenue generator, and fine, great, they should be. But what I am concerned with is them using the Morgan Wallen concert to replace 8-day weekend. To replace it. We're only going to open the stadium. We're going to open it for profit for this big concert. Coach Bohr and company, they can have their 15 practices behind the green fence over at the Malmore Athletic Facility. I think you should have 8-day. I think it is a great opportunity, like Cam said, to get up to Tuscaloosa, or it's a great opportunity to keep the Alabama fan base just plugged in to football for a little bit. I mean, I wrote roll call last night. What did I write? 206. I think I wrote 206 days away from it kicking off against Eastern Carolina. 8-day provides a touch point sometime in between the 206 days. Obviously, it's on the earlier end, but it provides you a touch point. And it provides you, I am excited about this team. I will start thinking about tickets. I'm going to start thinking about the fall. I want to buy Keelan Russell's jersey. I want to buy Austin Mack's jersey, whoever the case may be. And it just creates a touch point. And especially the last handful. Haven't you had autographs after 8-day? Or am I confusing that with the fall? I think I'm confusing that with the fall.
I don't think we get them.
It's still, regardless, it becomes a really good touch point for the fans and a low financial barrier for the fans to have that touch point. Theo, what are you thinking about 8-day for this coming year?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head. There's no reason to not have it. From a business perspective, I still feel like there's enough of a financial incentive for the university to want to put on this show, right? To want to have all these people come through. You can think about all the stuff you can do with Alabama, with the way it's changed over the past 2 years.
Hey, they did some good things this week. Usually I'm critical of them. They did 2 good things this week that I thought were awesome.
What'd they do this week?
The T-shirt that Nate Oates got tossed.
Yes, yeah.
They had the whole. They had. If you didn't see it on Saturday, Katie Windham got a great video of it. You can find it. Katie Windham _ Coach Oates gets thrown a T-shirt right at his chest from the Auburn faithful. And okay, no harm, no foul. It's a T-shirt, whatever. He picks it up and carries it to the locker room. They sign the T-shirt and they're auctioning it off on Yale, Alabama. That's a perfect
That's awesome
thing. And the second thing is they interviewed Coach DeBoer's wife.
Really? I missed that one.
Which, okay, you want to talk about unique access, unique angles that Yale, Alabama is privy to. That's maximizing your resources to me. Two great things.
Is that interview behind the paywall?
Well, and that's okay. I mean, that's fine to me. Like, you're providing actual unique content that people, it's not, well, I just want to play for my teammates. I just want to try hard for Alabama. It's not any of that, I took you off track.
But yeah, on that point, like, you have so many opportunities with Yale, Alabama. First of all, to gain just overall support for the group, right? Yale, Alabama is not the most loved organization among the Alabama fan base. You have a chance to really do some cool things with it over A-Day, get all these fans plugged in, and you can probably get a good amount of fans to maybe sign up for some level of Yale, Alabama subscription through coming into Tuscaloosa, having a great A-Day experience, right? So I think we should have it. I haven't really given any thought on whether or not we will. All right, like, you want, ESPN would love to be able to show spring games again on TV, I'm sure. It's a very good revenue source broadcast-wise, so I'll have to give it some more thought. I'm sure we'll talk about it again, but that's a really interesting talking point for right now.
Yeah, so save that. We'll go back to A-Day tomorrow. If you're feeling, I hope you're feeling better. Theo woke up under the weather. Let's transition a little bit to softball as our friend Katie Windham is ready to talk about this team that went 5-0 this past weekend. So let's talk about softball after we tell everybody about our friends at Purple Turtle Roofing. Purple Turtle Roofing, we're not just another contractor. We're your neighbor and your advocate when it comes to protecting your home or business. With years of hands-on experience, top-tier certification, and a commitment to excellence, we've built a reputation as Alabama's go-to roofing solution. Check them out online today at roofturtle.com. We specialize in residential roofing, commercial roofing, emergency storm repairs, full-on roof replacements, insurance claim support, and more. You can set up your appointment online. They'll come out, give you a free roof inspection. Make sure that your roof is good to go before this spring storm season hits, and it will hit. So make sure you get the peace of mind that you deserve. You look at your home. You want to feel good about living in your home. You want to feel good about all your belongings and possessions being secure. So call Purple Turtle Roofing. You can call them at 877-787-6635 or visit them online today at roofturtle.com. All right, so there we go. There she is right there. I had two of you in the back end. We're going to turn our attention to our friend Katie Windham, lead writer at BamaCentral.com. You can follow her at Katie Windham _ covering really every daggum sport under the sun at the University of Alabama. Right now in the middle of covering men's basketball, gymnastics, softball, and probably 3 other sports that we haven't even heard of. It's our privilege to welcome Katie Windham into the program. Good morning, Katie. How we doing?
Good morning. I feel like I'm killing y'all's vibe with the mood lighting. I like the new lighting setup. I'm too bright.
Theo's friend came in here and rearranged the rooms a little bit, and we're rolling with it. So I appreciate it.
Let me add a light actually to make me look a little bit better.
There you go. There she goes.
Glasses. So.
Katie, we'll ease you into an easy one. Cam Metzger called just now and asked the future of A-Day, hoping to see Keelan Russell and Austin Mack go head-to-head against an actual Alabama defense. Why don't we just start you with an easy one right there? What do you think will happen with A-Day this year?
I've heard that whatever version of A-Day is going to be like the week before the Morgan Wallen concert. So I think it would be like April 11th. But I've not heard anything about like what that means. And I don't know if Alabama even knows yet what that means, because obviously last year was a really dumbed down, watered down version. Now, and one of the excuses you heard, not from Alabama, but kind of nationally, was that people were worried about portal tampering and that you don't want guys that are down low on the depth chart to want to transfer. You don't want guys that are up high that look good to get poached by other schools. Well, that's not a concern this year because of there is no spring window. So maybe they'll move back to a game. I heard a little bit of what y'all were saying before I joined, and I think it is good for the fans, for those that can't get to a regular game, to get to come in the stadium and see some semblance of a game. But who knows in this age of college football, they don't really care about the fans or the media. They can say they do in some regards, but they don't. So, well, I guess in a way they care about the fans and that they want to win, but is that really for the fans or for them? I don't know. I'd say overall, that's never their top concern for most people. So I don't know. We'll see what happens this spring.
We will find out here in the next couple of weeks. Spring practices on the horizon. But what just got started was Alabama softball. Make sure you follow Katie Windham on her podcast, Crimson Flame. Last week, she interviewed Patrick Murphy, head softball coach, going into, did I hear year 30 for Patrick Murphy?
That's right. Yep. Year 30 with the program, 28th as head coach.
Unbelievable. So you can hear a great interview between Katie Windham and Patrick Murphy. But the softball team got it rolling this past weekend at the Buzz Classic, beating Georgia Tech, Villanova, and ECU. 5 games, 5 pretty much blowouts, 18 home runs, really strong pitching in the circle. Katie Windham, what was your big takeaway, or what were some of your big takeaways from Alabama softball's opening weekend?
Yeah, I think you want to take everything with a grain of salt and not overreact because it is the first weekend. It's not the highest quality level of opponents that they're going to face this year, but those type of numbers are going to be impressive against anyone. Like I think it was in 2022, I think that was the graphic. They hit 10 home runs opening weekend in Arizona in a tournament. And we're all like, woo, they have power again. And then they basically barely hit any the rest of the year. But I mean, 18 is obviously significantly more than 10. So, and it came from kind of everywhere in the lineup. So I think that's the most glaring thing. I have a friend that I talk a lot of softball with, and he said before the season, like, give me your hot take for this season or your bold take, something like that. And I said that there will be 3 people with double-digit home runs this year. And I'm feeling pretty good about that take because they haven't had more than 1 with double-digit home runs since 2019. So it seemed bold at the time. Now it doesn't seem as bold, but I think that's a really positive sign because home runs are something that literally gets people on their feet. That gets the fans engaged. There's been for so many years now, so many 2-0 games, 2-1, 3-2. And it's exciting, when a game can come down to the wire, but when your team is not scoring runs, it's not very fun to watch. And that's basically been the case since 2022. The offense has not been good. Last year it was better. And this year so far, it seems a lot better, which is good. And then my other kind of biggest takeaway, which is it's not super surprising to anyone that follows softball, is I think you came into the year not really knowing what the pitching was going to be like. Even Murph said that in the pregame scrum or preseason scrum, that was his biggest question mark. I think Theo was the one that asked him that. And he said pitching, it's just a bunch of unknowns. And you saw freshman Vic Moten really kind of step into that. And I think in some order, her and Jocelyn Brisky are going to be the 1-2 this year. And like I said, she was not facing the highest level of competition. She did pitch against Georgia Tech both times. And I think you said, they had 5 blowouts, and they pretty much did. But in that last game against Georgia Tech, I think it was that Georgia Tech hit 2 home runs in the first inning. So she did face a little bit of adversity, which is good. It wasn't just all completely smooth sailing, was able to bounce back from that. And so, yeah, I think you saw really good hitting from a lot of spots. I think some questions were answered at pitching, and you're going to have to continue to repeat that, obviously, as the season goes forward. This weekend, once again, is not like the highest level of competition. It's probably a little bit step up. Liberty is 0-5, but they're preseason ranked, and they probably have more talent than any team Alabama played last week, and then Purdue's another Power 4 school. So it should be a little bit of a step up, but then it's just going to continue to keep stepping up and ramping up as you go into SEC play.
Anna Roman and Salyn Hawkins, both with 3 home runs each. So you're close. You're off to a good start with your multiple double-digit home run take right there. So well done.
Yeah, I just want to follow up on Vic Moten here because the numbers, they were eye-popping, right? 0.93 ERA, 19 strikeouts over 15 innings. You talk about the level of competition, and our job, I guess, early in the season is always to try to evaluate what stuff can translate against higher level comp. What do you think, what have you seen out of just Vic Moten's game, even the pitches she threw, that makes you think that this could translate against these high-level SEC schools?
I think it's her speed, and they actually never showed the miles per hour on the 2 of the 5 games that were broadcast, but they were talking about on the Georgia Tech broadcast how hard she was throwing and how hard it was for them to catch up to her, and those are Power 4 hitters, and I heard from some people preseason how hard she can throw, and that's kind of something that's translatable to any level of opponent is how hard you can throw and how difficult it is for them to catch up to you, and so I think she can kind of hit those upper 60s, maybe low 70s. And that's going to be something that, that's what kind of the top pitchers in the SEC are expected to do if they're a power pitcher, because some people are more change up, their drop ball, they're doing stuff that's more spin, less power, and evading hitters in different ways, which really at this level, the top pitchers have all of the above. But, I think she has the speed already as a freshman to compete in the SEC.
We're hanging out with Katie Windham, lead writer at BamaCentral.com, and we're getting our Alabama softball preview as the ladies went 5-0 last week and are about to be back at home for the Easton Bama Bash. I want to ask you about really probably the biggest name on the team. Is Jocelyn Brisky the biggest name on the team first? And second, she didn't make any appearances until Saturday, and Coach Murphy said she's going to be on a pitch count this coming week. What's up with Jocelyn Brisky, her health, her stat? Are you concerned long-term? Just kind of give us an outlook on Jocelyn Brisky. She had a really great outing on Saturday, but just kind of give us your 2026 season outlook on Jocelyn Brisky.
I would say she's definitely the biggest pitcher name on the team. Audrey Vandergrift's probably the biggest name overall, but then Jocelyn Brisky's been in college longer, so I think maybe on a national scale, she's a little more well-known. Like I didn't break the news last week that she was hurt because Murph just told us that, but kind of some national softball people like retweeted it, and it picked up big across college softball. So she is definitely a big name. I don't think it's anything super long-term to be concerned about based on what the Alabama softball radio guys, Tom and Gray, said on their podcast last week. And then just talking to Murph, the fact that she was able to pitch last week, I think is good since they weren't sure, and that she will this week. I think because Alabama does not have a super tough non-conference this year. In the past, sometimes they'll start out at a really tough tournament. They'll go play in the Clearwater tournament with some of the top teams in college softball. And that's not really the case this year. And I think that was somewhat strategic. Obviously not strategic for injuries because you don't know those are going to happen, especially a year in advance. But because of that, especially with how Vic Moden pitched this past weekend, there's not really like a huge incentive to rush her back. If it's they've said it, all he said is a leg injury. I don't really know exactly what that is. And with pitching, you would think, oh, your leg's not that big of a deal. But depending, especially if it's her plant leg, even if it's her other leg, so much of their power comes from their lower half. So it is, even if it's not her shoulder, her elbow, or whatever, it being her leg can obviously still affect her pitching. So I don't think it's something super long-term. I think they can kind of ramp her back up. And I think your goal would be to have her back fully by SEC play. They do play Florida State. I'm not sure if that's next weekend's tournament or the weekend after that. So they do have that's probably their best non-conference, and they need to win probably at least one of those two just because the rest of their non-con isn't super strong.
They do have Florida State next Friday, the 20th, and Saturday, the 21st. Continue.
Okay. Yeah. So I would guess actually really for that, they would probably really prefer her start one of those games against Florida State. But I think also they're comfortable kind of – I think your problem behind her is that your only other starters are the two freshmen. And just with freshmen, it's always going to be – you don't really know for sure because I don't think Brea Hodges is really a starter. And then Ailey Johnson, pretty much her whole career since transferring from LSU, has been a reliever. So I think you probably want Jocelyn back for Florida State because you can rely on freshmen, and Alabama's done that in the past. That's how softball works. You're probably going to, especially at pitcher, like Montana Fouts pitched the second she got on campus, but that's also Montana Fouts. So Caitlin Palazzi and Vic Moden, a lot could be put on their shoulders if Jocelyn can't, isn't at 100%. But it seems like she's working her way back, and they're optimistic kind of with her future. And she's somebody that Murph, when he talked to me on the podcast, and even yesterday, I think when we were talking to him, was saying how good she was doing at the end of the fall. And the last scrimmage, she got like 19 to 20 people out. And we kind of saw how good this lineup was. Really, when he says that, like, let's be honest, you're thinking, well, this offense, that might be kind of an indictment on how bad this offense is. But they looked good opening weekend. So the fact that she was mowing them down when they face her every day, I think shows that she was in a really good place. And so it's unfortunate that she had the setback, but I don't think it's going to be something super long term.
Well, I want to kind of move us over from that to the actual lineup, because heading into the season, remember Coach Murphy said that there were still 2 or 3 positions that they weren't really sure about, right? Who would come in and start there. Was any, I guess, work done to, like, have we gotten any closer to finding the long-term starters for this team, or what's your evaluation of kind of some of the, I guess, spots that remain question marks for this season?
I mean, honestly, he did the same lineup from game 1 to game 2, and that in and of itself is pretty surprising because opening weekend especially, he can be changing the lineup like every game. I think it was because they scored 17 runs that first game, and he really liked the order. And then as the weekend went on, he kind of changed it up a little bit. That's just kind of how Murph is. He'll change the lineup a lot. I think basically, though, I think that opening day lineup is kind of their ideal starting 9. And then probably your ideal starter would be Brisky in the circle, but also Moten as well. So I think having Audrey Vandergriff in center field, Anna Roman and Lauren Johnson also out in the outfield, which I think probably surprises some people since you have 2 seniors in Larissa Pruitt and Kristen White that have both started at different points in their career. But I think they probably have shown, which they could have improved in the offseason as well, but they don't have the offensive consistency that some of these other people have. They both have the speed, especially Kristen White. So I don't think it's that they're not going to play this year. They just may not. They're probably not going to be the starters. I think Jenny Young at second base is pretty locked in. I think Brooke Wells, the transfer at first base, is pretty locked in. I think she led the team in RBIs, or maybe Alex Papillo did at DH. And then Salyn Hawkins is definitely locked in at shortstop. Abby Dukeshire at third base. I don't know how long that will last. They may kind of do some rearranging between third base, first base, and DH at different times this year because Abby Dukeshire didn't get off to the best offensive start. And then also she's super tall. She's played first base in the past, and third base being tall helps, but you normally have to be really athletic. Not saying she's not, but she's not necessarily as quick and athletic as some other people. So I don't know if once SEC plays, she'll still be at third base. And then Marley Giles at catcher, of course, and that's not a surprise as she's entering her senior year, which is crazy. So I think they kind of have, after one weekend, probably solidified their main holes. I think there will be a couple that'll be rotated some, or they may switch some spots around. But I think, obviously, he's pretty happy with the production they had weekend 1.
Katie, let's keep talking about the offense and the lineup. And I want to ask you about Salyn Hawkins. She went 533 from the plate this weekend, 8 hits. She had 3 home runs, 7 RBIs. She wasn't this last year. She wasn't this dangerous. I mean, she could poke a hit here and there for sure last season. But it seems like there's a lot more power. It seems like there's a lot more confidence, and it seems like there's more consistency from Salyn Hawkins through one weekend. Obviously, it's just one weekend. But what do you think is the biggest change in Salyn Hawkins? And do you expect, or do you think it's right? It's fair to expect her to continue being this dangerous at the plate?
Will she probably hit 533 all year? Probably not, but I think it could be close. I mean, softball players do hit sometimes in the 500s or high 400s for average. We talked to her yesterday, actually, for the media availability, and she was cracking me up. She was talking about how this offseason she really wanted to gain weight, so she just ate all offseason. She was home in Arizona with her dad. She ate because the food's so much better out there, and she wanted to get bigger so that she could get stronger, because when you're stronger, it helps with the home runs. It helps with the power. And so she clearly made that a focus this offseason. Murph said she said last year in her exit meeting, really even before the offseason started, that it was going to be a goal to get stronger, because you kind of saw towards the end of last season, she had some improvements to the plate. She was always really strong in the field. And so if she can, hit for that kind of power, and she's still really fast, I think that's just a really dynamic weapon in the lineup. But I think it is something that can be sustained. Maybe not, probably not at this high of a pace, but it could be. You never know. And I think that's the type of player that Alabama really hasn't had. And I can't think of somebody kind of her shortstop that's fast, that hits for power. It's been a minute, because really their last true power hitter was Bailey Hempill. And her last year was 2021, I believe. Maybe it's 22, but I'm pretty sure it was 21. And and she was more of your just traditional slugger. And so, and like I said, really since then, there hasn't been a ton of great power anyway. Ashley Prangy kind of handled that for 2 years on her own, and there wasn't really anyone else. So I think Salem Hawkins is kind of your ideal college softball shortstop, and it was something really encouraging for fans to see opening weekend.
Go ahead with what you're going to do.
Yeah, so I just, you look at this Alabama team and kind of the state of the program. I feel like so many fans sometimes just in recent years have checked out a little, right? Having the same expectation for this program. You managed to make it to the World Series 2 years ago. Didn't make much noise there. And now you look after this week one, and Alabama all of a sudden gaining some national attention, jumping up in the polls a little bit. Is there something about this team to you through one weekend of play that you can point out that says, you know what, these guys are different? They have a higher ceiling than some of these teams in the past. And if not, like, is there a particular weakness, I guess, that makes you skeptical?
I think it would still be the hesitancy would be the pitching, just because you don't fully know. Because really the last couple of years they've had like one dominant ace that like you knew when she pitched, Alabama was going to have a really good chance to win. The problem was, are they going to be able to score any runs? I think the difference with this year's team is they will be able to score some runs. They showed us that week one, and that's kind of what I said at the beginning that's been missing. Fans have not had a lot to cheer about, and it has been that like the program the last couple of years. Yes, 2 years ago they made the World Series, which is great. That is the peak of the sport. You want to make the Women's College World Series. But that year, I'm pretty sure, was the first time ever that Alabama finished below 500 in SEC play. Yep. Last year they finished at 500 in SEC play. I'm pretty sure. I might be slightly off, but I'm pretty sure on both of those. Alabama fans are not used to losing that much in softball. And part of that is the rest of the SEC has like really elevated. Like it used to be there's 3 or 4 programs that cared about softball, invested in softball. And there were some programs like Arkansas and Mississippi State that were just absolute doormats. And then Arkansas has won over the last couple of years, has won SEC regular season titles, has won tournament titles. Now they've never made the World Series still, but the depth of the SEC, basically top to bottom, everyone's good. Last year, 14 of the 15 teams made the NCAA tournament. So that's been part of it, is that the competition is elevated and that it makes it harder to win. And then part of it has been you have not been very good on offense. And Murph would tell you that. And then they've also lost. He said this yesterday in his media availability. He was telling the New Tuscaloosa News reporter that like he hates losing at home. It's one of his biggest pet peeves. He hates wasting a good crowd. I can't even tell you how many times they've done that the last 4 years that I've been like, I've been covering the team for 5 years, but really the last 4 years, they have lost at home a ton. Like because they've just lost a lot. And so I think this team is not going to lose as much because I think they can score more. I think they're going to give fans more to cheer about. I think it's going to get more energized crowds at Rhodes again, because it's hard to get people to come out to watch a game that you lose so much at home. There's a 50% chance you lose, and there's probably an 80% chance it's going to be a low-scoring game. And I think you're not going to see as much of that this year. And so I think it is going to kind of re-energize the fan base. I don't think it's really that the program dipped. I think it was not, which Murph hates the word expectations, but not meeting some of their own expectations, and then also the elevation of the rest of the SEC. And I think they've kind of, this year we're seeing that the offense is kind of coming back, the power is coming back, and the things that you kind of have to do to be more competitive in college softball.
We've been hanging out with Katie Windham. You can follow her at Katie Windham _ lead writer for BamaCentral.com. And we're talking about Alabama softball. Speaking of not wasting good crowds, Katie, let's take you into this weekend. Alabama is at home for the first time this year for the Easton Bama Bash, taking on Purdue, Liberty, and Georgia Southern. Doubleheader Friday, doubleheader Saturday, and then the solo single game on Sunday against Georgia Southern. What do you see in this weekend? What are you hoping to see? Well, obviously, Jocelyn Briskey is still on a pitch count, according to Coach Murphy yesterday. Will we see her just once or spread out a couple of times through the weekend? Just kind of, what are some of your thoughts heading into this weekend as Alabama opens the year over at the Rhodes House?
I think you really want to see the offense continue, that it wasn't just a fluke, that it wasn't just an opening weekend thing against a bad competition. And I think with home crowds, you want to hit those home runs in front of them. You want to, kind of maintain that momentum, and that's kind of going to be the biggest thing. I'm looking forward to like actually seeing them in person because, like I said, only 2 of the 5 games were streamed last weekend, and the second one that was streamed was during the basketball game against Auburn, so I wasn't really watching. It'll be nice to see them in person and see how some of these players react. I think Sunday's game is maybe in a little bit of jeopardy because of weather, which I didn't realize until yesterday. It's supposed to be bad on Sunday, but that's just typical softball weather, outdoor sport. You never know if you're going to get all the games in or not. Exactly. They need to build a Purple Turtle roof over roads so they can play it when it's raining. So that's really what I'm looking forward to, kind of carrying over that momentum at the plate. And then in the circle, I would like to see freshman Caitlin Palazzi just kind of see what she can bring at home, because Murph had talked before the games that the freshmen can be nervous, and they've probably gotten those initial jitters out. But then also I think there is kind of a little bit of nerves and pressure of playing at the Rhodes House. It is the biggest venue besides now Oklahoma's on campus in college softball. This weekend, I don't know if there will be a ton of people there just because of the timing, but it's supposed to be pretty decent weather on Friday and Saturday, because sometimes these first home series can be freezing cold with whipping wind and nobody wants to sit out there in that. I think this weekend it should be pretty nice. So, and I think there will be decent crowds. Kind of how do the freshman pitchers handle a little bit more pressure, a little bit more eyes, facing probably a little bit better competition. And then kind of how do they respond when adversity comes? The defense was good week 1. I think they only had 2 errors through the 5 games. Can that keep up? Because that's been a problem at times the last couple of years, just having silly errors and giving up bad runs that lead to losses. And so those sound like boring, basic things, but that's kind of what I'm keeping an eye on this weekend.
Well, Katie, I mean, great hearing about the team there. I'm going to put you on the spot here for one more question. Give us one hot take, bold statement about this Alabama softball season.
She already did. They're going to have 3 double-digit home runs.
Let me see. Okay, let me do a new bold take after one weekend.
No, go ahead. I'm teasing.
I'll say, and this is probably a little bit of an overreaction, especially considering the SEC currently has 4 of the top 5 teams nationally. But Alabama's SEC schedule is pretty good. I think 5 of their 8 series are against teams that were predicted to finish lower than them in the standings. So I'll say Alabama finishes top 4 in the SEC and gets a double bye in the SEC tournament. That's my hot take right now.
I have a lot of excited season. It does indeed go like that.
Katie, we appreciate your time this morning. I think you can't thank you enough for helping us get ready for the softball season. Make sure you follow her at Katie Windham _. She's going to be at the Easton Bama Bash on Friday, the lady doubleheader Friday, doubleheader Saturday, and then, of course, the Sunday solo game if they can get it in with the weather machine. Katie, you got any predictions on the basketball tonight? We both predicted Alabama to win. I had them close. Theo had them a little bit larger. Would you have like 15, 16 points?
16 points.
Yeah. Right. So Theo went a little larger. Final question and final thought. Do you have any feelings on tonight's basketball game?
It's tough because I think it'll be an emotional one for Ole Miss just because they haven't played at home in so long. And then Alabama, you never know who's going to be available for this team, no matter what the availability report says, no matter what NATO says. But I think this is kind of a make or break point for Alabama in the season. You have a little bit of a lighter schedule coming up. You need to take advantage of these. You've lost some games in the first half of conference play. You shouldn't. That if you want to be a legitimate, SEC threat, higher seed nationally, you've got to win these type of games. So I think Alabama will win.
She's Katie Windham. Follow her at Katie Windham _ on the Twitter machine, and we'll catch up with you very soon, Katie.
Thanks, guys.
Absolutely. It's Katie Windham. Make sure you find her podcast, Crimson Flame, wherever you get your podcast. Her podcast focuses on Alabama women's athletics. As we said last week, she interviewed Patrick Murphy. You can hear that episode right now. She's been interviewing lots of the women's coaches. She's interviewed Ashley Johnson. She's interviewed Christy Curry, highlighting the women's athletics over at the Capstone with her podcast, Crimson Flame. Theo, anything else you got for the people today? I know you've got a big next hour. You're going to be recording You're Not Safe for the first time. Anything else on your brain before you give them your best, I guess?
No, that's about it. This was a phenomenal warm-up show. Glad to give 70% of my effort on this show every morning. I'm excited to react.
Are you nice and loose? You stretch, you nice and loose?
Ready to go. And, I'll elevate myself for this wrap, right? This is 100% of my effort. But I'm excited to watch Alabama in Oxford. I think it should just be an entertaining game. I think you guys will have a lot of fun watching what should be a very fun Alabama offense, shooting attack. Alabama shot, I believe, only 23 three-pointers against Auburn.
70.
You might double that number, I think, tonight in Oxford. You could see upward of 45 threes taken. I think it'll be a fun performance from the Crimson Tide.
Well, we will find out tonight at 6 o'clock. And so we appreciate everybody watching us today on the Bama Central YouTube channel, listening to us on Apple Podcasts, Amazon, Spotify. Tell a friend about the program. Share it with all your Alabama fan friends or your Alabama hater friends as well. You can call us on the voicemail machine at 205-462-7340, extension 800. Visit roofturtle.com for all of your roofing needs ahead of Sunday's storm. And make sure you call Derek Daniel for all of your insurance needs at 205-758-3391.
Thanks for joining us on today's edition of the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central. Keep up with Joe on all his social media pages at Joe Gaither6. Subscribe, rate, and review the show on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and be sure to read us daily at BamaCentral.com.